Nice. Good morning, everybody. My name is Marty Mascari. I'm a contractor under the North Central Texas Area Agency on Aging and the North Central Texas Aging and Disability Resource Center, both of which are under the umbrella of the North Central Texas Council of Governments. We're blessed here today to have my cohorts with the Area Agency on Aging. Melinda Gardner and Felicia Warner are here to talk about what's new in 2023. And then we're also joined by Veronica with the Better Business Bureau's Education Foundation out of Houston. And it's Alegría?
Alegría.
Alegría.
It means happy.
Nice.
Yes.
That's what it means. In Spanish, it means happy. Alegría.
Nice.
I like that.
How did you end up with that last name? That's great. Okay.
Yeah, my husband.
Happy.
Yeah.
Be happy.
How you have a happy marriage if you find a husband that has a happy name? That's very good. Okay. I'll spare you all anymore. So we'll go on. So if we could go to the next slide, that would be great. So for those of you today that are joining us for CEUs or certificates of attendance, please know that we're set up with the state of Texas to provide CEUs for licensed social workers and licensed professional counselors in the state of Texas. If you're in Texas and you have a different license, or you're outside of Texas and you have a license someplace else, you're more than welcome to go through the process, get a certificate, submit it to your jurisdiction. But please know, there's no guarantee that they're going to take those. We're set up with them. Although I've had people tell me that they've been able to use them. That's secondhand information, and I just don't want you to do this and think that we have can back that up. So today's webinar is worth 1.5 hours of CEU credits. You must attend the entire webinar live or the recorded webinar with live Q&A this afternoon, either one of those, to be eligible for the CEUs. You must also complete the Google survey evaluation. That should pop up as you close out of the webinar today in Zoom. If not, you will receive the link to that in a follow-up email that will go out either later today or early tomorrow. The Google survey will be up and available to you for 1 week until a week from today on the 16th at 5 p.m. And then give me about 3 weeks. And more or less, I'm still working on December's, but I should be able to get them out to you in 3 weeks after that. So, and if I don't, you're more than welcome to check with me. So I'm going to turn it over to Melinda Gardner and let her introduce the topic and everybody else. Melinda, it's up to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Marty, and thank you everyone again for joining us. Today, we are going to be talking about what's new in 2023 in reference to Medicare. This particular presentation was created by SHIP, and we're going to explain SHIP shortly. Say that real quick. As Marty mentioned, my name is Melinda Gardner. I am with the North Central Texas Area Agency on Aging as a benefits counselor, and also I am the SMP project coordinator. Also joining us is Felicia Warner, who is also a benefits counselor with the North Central Texas Area Agency on Aging. And there is our contact information if you need to reach us, as well as a toll-free number here at the bottom of the slide if you are not in Texas or outside of the North Central Texas area. You can call the toll-free number at the bottom and be connected to your local SHIP agency. We also partner with the Texas Senior Medicare Patrol to provide information on fraud and abuse, and we are co-presenting with Veronica today, who will share information later in this presentation. And now I'm going to turn it over to Felicia to provide more information on SHIP and our what's new in 2023.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. We've just completed our first full first full week of the new year. I want everyone to have a wonderful 2023 and have some carefree days in 23. So we'll get started with SHIP. What is SHIP? SHIP is the State Health Insurance Assistant Programs, and there are 54 SHIP grantees in the U.S. Oh, I'm sorry. I got jumped ahead of myself. SHIPs are federally funded, and the SHIP program was established by Congress, and their work was funded by the U.S. Administration for the Community Living at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. There are 54 SHIPs. There are one in Puerto Rico, there's one in Guam and DC and the beautiful Virgin Islands. There are over 2,000 local programs, over 12,000 counselors, 4 million people, individuals have been educated, and we have completed over 2.5 million counseling sessions. And nationally, SHIP trains volunteers and in-kind to provide services, and that is really important what we do in the community. How SHIP can help you? Well, they can help you understand the cost of your coverage, compare options, enroll or change plans, and correct billing issues. Often we have our clients call us with a Medicare question about billing, and it can get really complicated. So we're always there to help. Find your local SHIP, State Health Insurance Assistance Program. You can go online. This is the landing page for the organization, and just take a look at it. It's a wealth of information on there. Volunteer. Help people in your community volunteer with SHIP. Actually, I started as a volunteer with SHIP and since 2009 and have really enjoyed it. And now that I'm employed, I'm enjoying it even more. And a lot of people can't say that about their employment, but yeah, I have fun, talk to a lot of different people, help them navigate through Medicare. And of course, I am still learning, so that's important to me.
Many people find Medicare confusing. Make it easier and make a difference. Volunteer with your local SHIP and help people in your community navigate Medicare. You can volunteer virtually or in person, one-on-one or in groups. There's a wide variety of volunteer roles. You don't need a background in health insurance to get involved. SHIP provides the training.
I don't get paid for this. I'm a volunteer, and I get more out of doing this than what I did on a paycheck.
It's just a joy, a blessing to help and to give, and it doesn't take very much of your time.
If you go through the training, you give it a chance, you'll see the value not only for yourself, but you also see the value in others who you're able to assist.
As a SHIP volunteer, you can give back to your community, stay connected, and build your skills. Contact the SHIP office in your area to learn more. Depending on your area, the SHIP program may also be known by one of these names.
Okay. That is a great video. I always enjoy watching that and looking at the individuals who are giving back to their community. So we'll get started on our objectives. Well, understand changes to the general enrollment period and initial enrollment period, and identify new Medicare Part B and Part A premium, special enrollment periods for those exceptional circumstances that sometimes we run into. Changes to drug costs and coverage, including insulin, which is very important, vaccines, and autoimmune suppressants. Expanded interpretation for medically necessary dental care. And that's a win-win, and I just say, woohoo, that's awesome. So the general enrollment period runs from January 1st to March 31st of each year. Before 2023, the coverage started in July 1, and that's a big plus for individuals. Starting in 2023, the coverage will begin the next month, and that is so important, the next month. So you don't have to wait until July. And we're going to get into that more and talk about it. Medicare eligible individuals who miss their initial enrollment period, and I love these acronyms, so I'll be saying IEP, or don't have special enrollment periods, which is SEP, can enroll in the general enrollment period. People who use GEP may have to pay a Part D late enrollment for the rest of their life, and we always try to avoid that. Okay. Part D enrollment, someone, of course, must have A and B. I'm sorry, can I get you to cut your volume? Okay, thank you. Someone who qualifies for Premium Part A, but has not enrolled, or a special enrollment period if applicable. Someone is already enrolled in a Premium Part A. You can use this for Part D enrollment. There's the next slide. The initial enrollment period beginning in 2023, your Medicare coverage will be effective the month after your enrollment. Really, that's a big deal. If you enroll in the last 3 months of your IEP, the IEP is your 7th month window. That's the 3 months before your 65th birthday, the month of your 65th birthday, and the 3 months following your 65th birthday. Before, as you can see, previously a beneficiary who enrolled in the later months of their IEP had to wait up to 3 months to begin coverage. So if your birthday is in May, your birth month, you would start in June, so in August the 1st. So it's really important that you can even sign up during January and your 2023, and your coverage will start in February. So we'll go to the next slide. These changes apply to any enrollment for the person who meets the requirements to enroll in Medicare, and applies only on or after January 2023, January 1st. And these flexibilities expand Medicare enrollment opportunities, reduce gaps in coverage, and prevent late enrollment penalties, which I think is important to all of our clients, that they not have enrollment penalties which can last a lifetime. So we never want that to happen. So we'll go to the next slide. The special enrollment period for individuals impacted by an emergency or a disaster. Individuals impacted by an emergency or disaster, the health plan or employer misrepresentation, or formerly incarcerated individuals, or termination of Medicare coverage, or other exceptional circumstances. You can use the special enrollment period. The Centers for, So the SEP begins January 1 of 2023. This SEP ends 6 months after the emergency date declaration if an emergency is declared, and it's ends 6 months after the date of extension. And your coverage begins the first month following the month of enrollment, which is really important. There have been so many disasters, and people have been really impacted by disaster and cannot start their Medicare on time. So individuals who can use this can make the special enrollment if you are unable to, or you have someone who makes decisions on your behalf and lives in an area where there is a declared emergency, they can make those decisions for you if you missed an enrollment opportunity because someone makes those decisions for you. So we'll go to the next one. And we could talk about this a little bit more. SEP for health plan or employer misinformation. And with my experience working for the Area Agency on Aging, people have been, it's been inadvertent, I'm sure, that they have received bad information. So this special enrollment period is for those individuals who employee group health plan or someone acting on behalf of their employer gave them incorrect information, which caused them to miss a Medicare enrollment period. So again, that the SEP begins the day the individual notifies the Social Security of the misinformation. The SEP ends 6 months after the individual notifies Social Security, and coverage begins the first month following the month of enrollment, which is so important. Misinformation is out there, unfortunately, and whether it's inadvertent or just a misunderstanding, it can impact some of our clients' lives and livelihood that they have received misinformation. And this is a wonderful opportunity for them to correct that with the Social Security office. Of course, you have to provide proof of employer misinformation. You can use this, but of course, again, you have to provide employer proof of that information. And it can be a written statement, a letter from the employer acknowledging that they gave out misinformation, and just work with that individual to get that corrected. And Social Security understands that, I'm sure. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you. The SEP, the special enrollment period for formerly incarcerated individuals. We do have numbers of individuals who are being released and are able now to apply for their Medicare. And this special enrollment period is for individuals who are released from incarceration on or after January 1, 2023. And keep in mind, this is January. If you were released in December, this is not going to apply for you. This is only for those individuals released after January 1, 2023. And your SEP begins the day the individual was released from our incarceration. It ends the last day of the 12th month, which is plenty of time, but it's of course, people being released have to get back into the community, so they give them a different length of time, and I think that's important. And you can enroll, you have two choices: the first month following the month of enrollment, or up to 6 months retroactively, but it cannot begin before January 2023. So that's really important. And those people, and I'd like to give an example, those people who are in custody, that include people that are in prison, under house arrest, and under supervised release. Ankle monitors. The SEP for ending Medicare coverage is for individuals who lose Medicaid eligibility on or after January 1. And we're starting to get calls about this, this is important also. The SEP begins when the individual receives a notice from upcoming termination of Medicaid eligibility, and it ends 6 months after the termination of eligibility. And we, of course, want to make that easier for them, so we can also help them go through that and possibly figure out what else they can do. Okay, next slide. And this is another thing I like, the exceptional circumstances. Sometimes things can go left, go crooked, and all in between. So Social Security can grant an SEP on a case-by-case basis. Individuals who can request to enroll through this SEP if they missed an enrollment, other enrollment periods because of situations they cannot control. But forgetting to enroll is not an exceptional circumstances, so don't even try it. Social Security decides if the situation is exceptional, meaning very unusual, not typical. And the start and end dates for the SEP depend on the circumstances. And your Social Security office will decide those. And next slide. Using an SEP, you can, Social Security, you should, of course, contact the Social Security office. And they may have you provide proof of certain circumstances, show that they lived in an area that was impacted by an emergency or a disaster. Of course, provide documentation that shows that they were misinformed by their employer or their representative. Prove that Medicaid eligibility ended on or after January 1, 2023, and show proof of an exceptional circumstance. And again, that proof must be provided to the Social Security office. You just can't have a letter from your teacher or anything. Here's a case example, Part B enrollment. Daniel turned 65 in 2020, and he delayed enrolling in Medicare because he was covered by his job insurance based from his current employer. So August of 2021, Daniel retired and continued health coverage through COBRA. Daniel's employer, Human Resources Department, recommended he keep COBRA and delay enrollment until COBRA ended. Daniel's COBRA ended January 31st, 2023. He wants to enroll in Medicare. And it just dawned on him, and he realized that he should have enrolled in Medicare right after retiring, but he was misinformed by his employer. His friend told him that he should be able to enroll in Medicare this month, but that he will have to wait until July for his coverage to start. Daniel's getting a lot of information. And we would advise Daniel to, enrolling in Medicare. Can Daniel enroll in Medicare during the general enrollment period? His coverage will begin February 1st, not July 1st, and that is a big plus for Daniel. Late enrollment, Daniel may possibly or will owe because he has delayed enrollment and where it was at least 12 months after he had neither his job-based insurance or Part A. Daniel should ask his employer to fill out a form called the CMSL 564. I won't remember that, with the dates that he was employed and covered by his job insurance and submitted to Social Security. He may be able to use the time he was covered by insurance or current work to reduce his late enrollment period. And Daniel might be eligible for the Medicare Savings Program, which the Medicare Savings Program helps pay for those deductibles. It helps pay for your co-insurances. It can pay for that Medicare premium. And it's a really excellent program for our seniors or individuals who with limited income. So we don't really know what Daniel's income is, but we'll go on and answer some more questions. But even if you have a client that believes they are not eligible for that, they should apply anyway. And you can answer that in the chat, and we'll just keep on going if you want to participate in that. Does Daniel qualify for Part B special enrollment based on employee misinformation? Unfortunately, no. Daniel would not be able for that the special enrollment period because it's not after January 1, 2023, because Daniel was given misinformation and delayed Medicare enrollment when he retired in August of 2021. He would not be eligible for this as special enrollment period. And I will turn this over to Melinda, and thank you so much, and I'll be back.
All right, thank you very much, Felicia. For that, I am going to talk about prescription drug costs. Those changes that we have seen for the new year. So the vaccine cost sharing changes, there will be zero cost sharing and no deductibles for Part D vaccines. That's Part D as in David. And this is based on the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. And this does include the shingles shot, the shingles vaccine. I know some people were paying over $100 for that vaccine previously. So this is good news that there is no cost sharing for Part D vaccines. And some of you may know about the insulin cost sharing changes. As of this year, there is a $35 cap on insulin products that are covered by Part D and Part B covered products, and with no deductible. And the limit applies across the different coverage phases of Part D. And effective for Part D covered insulin, that started January 1st, but Part B covered insulin doesn't start until July 1st. So if anybody is receiving insulin products through Part B as in boy, the $35 cap will apply as of July 1st, 2023. And there is a special enrollment period that CMS is granting a Part D enrollment for exceptional circumstances to allow beneficiaries to add, drop, or change their Part D coverage if they find a better option after the Medicare open enrollment period. If you did a plan comparison during the open enrollment period, they're on the Medicare.gov website, there may have been some hiccups. And so you may not have selected the plan that was best for you. And so Medicare is giving an opportunity for those individuals who use a covered insulin product to have a special enrollment period that began December 8th of last year, and it goes through this year. And this gives a person a one-time option to switch plans if they are taking an insulin product. In order to utilize this special enrollment period, individuals must call 1-800-MEDICARE so a customer service representative can process the enrollment change. And if you are looking to switch plans, it's important to do a plan comparison on Medicare.gov and make sure that the plan actually does cover your prescription, your insulin product. Some additional changes that are effective for this year, after this year, there will be a cap on Part D prescription coverage. So in 2024, the 5% coinsurance in the catastrophic coverage phase will be eliminated, and beneficiaries will have zero cost sharing. That is a huge help for individuals, especially those that do not qualify for extra help, which reduces prescription costs. The prescription costs actually went down during the catastrophic coverage period, but starting next year, there will be no cost sharing at all during that period. The income eligibility for full extra help will be expanded to 150%. So individuals who were receiving partial extra help, that sounds like it's going away. And so it will be eliminated. Anyone currently eligible for partial extra help will be entitled to the full benefit. Some additional great news. In 2025, the annual out-of-pocket Part D cost will be capped at $2,000. Now, there's still additional information that we're waiting for to get exactly how that's going to work, but that will be a huge help for people with limited income, as well as people who maybe don't qualify for extra help. Those costs will be capped at $2,000. In 2026, the federal government will be required to negotiate prices for certain high-cost drugs, thereby reducing that cost sharing for individuals. And then 2024 to 2030, the Part D premium growth will be limited to no more than 6% per year. Previously, there was no limit on that. So now CMS is starting to take measures in order to reduce the amount that the premium is increasing. And now I'll turn it back over to Felicia to talk about coverage for immunosuppressant drugs. Oh, I'm sorry, my screens weren't changing. There we go. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Autoimmune suppressant drugs, of course, after getting a kidney transplant, individuals with end-stage renal disease need to take autoimmune suppressant drugs for the rest of their life to prevent the body from rejecting. So Medicare covers these drugs differently depending on the circumstances of the transplant. Part B coverage, if kidney transplant is a Medicare in a Medicare approved facility, Medicare Part B covers the autoimmune suppressant drugs if the beneficiary has had Part A and it has Part B and when getting the prescription filled. Only people who are eligible for Medicare, people who are eligible for Medicare only because of ESRD. Part B will cover the autoimmune suppressant until that coverage ends 36 months after the transplant, or people who are also eligible for Medicare due to age and disability. Part B coverage of the autoimmune suppressant drug continues as long as that person is enrolled. Go to the next slide. Starting in 2023, there's a new limited Medicare benefit called the autoimmune suppressive drug benefit, called the Part B ID benefit. It provides coverage for the autoimmune suppressant drug for people with ESRD. The Medicare benefits have ended 36 months after their transplant and who do not have other coverage. To get this coverage, the person must qualify for Part B, excuse me, coverage of the autoimmune suppressant prior to losing Medicare Part B and not have had Medicaid or any other public or private health insurance that covers autoimmune suppressants. Enrolling in this extended coverage, you can call Social Security, and the number is right there on the screen. The coverage begins the next month, and beneficiaries with ESRD Medicare eligibility expire before January 1st, 2023 can still enroll. And those premiums is $97.10. The deductible is $220, and the coinsurance is 20%, and that's good news. And necessary dental. And I don't know about anybody else, but I'm really, I'm a caregiver and I'm really enjoying this. My husband has a dental appointment today. So dental care is generally excluded from Medicare coverage. We've known that, and it's been hard to really have dental coverage for some of our clients, but this is good news for them. Previously, Medicare Part B covered some dental care to protect the general health or dental care needed in order for another Medicare covered health service to be successful. So in November of 2022, CMS announced that it would be expanding its interpretation of medically necessary dental care and formalizing payment for certain services. The coverage under the new framing, and Melinda and I kind of debated what framing, so that's like a frame. So they're going to be clarifying, the new rule clarifies which medically necessary dental services are covered. Medicare can pay for dental services in some additional clinical scenarios where untreated dental conditions can limit the access to or the success of other covered care. It's really important. Examples of dental or an oral examination prior to a kidney transplant, reconstruction of a dental ridge provided as a result of surgical removal of a tumor, or extraction of teeth to prepare for radiation treatment of tumors. It's just really important. That's big news. The future coverage, CMS is establishing a process to identify and cover more dental, and I'm glad they are, services that are inextricably linked and substantially related to, related and integral to the clinical success of other covered medical services. I think I chopped that up. I hope everyone understood that. That sentence is very important also, that these the success of other covered medical services. So if you're being treated for one problem and that treatment can interfere with your teeth or cause problems, this is going to be a tremendous help, because after you finish with whatever treatment you're taking, you don't want to have to spend thousands of dollars to repair your teeth when this is going to help substantially. So this new framing and potential for coverage will be effective on or after January 1, 2023. And of course, we'll see how that is done case by case. Annual reminders. We of course, are reminded always that January 1 through March the 31st of each year, you can change. Beneficiaries enrolled in Medicare Advantage can make one change and one change only. They can switch from a Medicare Advantage plan to another Medicare Advantage plan. They can switch to original Medicare with or without Part D. Changes are effective the first of the following month, the first of the following month. Part D and Medicare Advantage plan special enrollment periods. Of course, CMS can grant special enrollment period case by case for those who have experienced exceptional circumstances relating to their Medicare Advantage plan or Part D enrollment. Situations, of course, where we went over where a beneficiary received misleading or incorrect information provided by a plan representative or even a SHIP counselor. The beneficiary was enrolled in a plan without their knowledge or consent, and that is something that happens. I hate it, but it does happen that some of our seniors are enrolled without their knowledge or consent in some plans that are no good to them. So they should contact Medicare to use the special enrollment period. Beneficiaries generally do not need to provide evidence beyond their own statement of what happened, but keeping track of who they spoke to and when they spoke to them can help. So that's a big plus. Transition fills. These are the one-time 30-day supply of a drug someone is currently taking. So you can generally, you must use this within the first 90 days of your plan year. It's available to those whose new plan doesn't cover a drug or has restrictions. A person whose current plan no longer covers a drug in 2023 or has drug restrictions. And you can do this within 3 days of using your transition fill. The plan must send notice explaining that after transition fill, the drug will not be covered or will be covered with those restrictions. Medicare cost in 2023. Melinda, is that yours? Did I go
All right.
over? I got on a roll.
We're gonna do another switch, and I'm gonna go over some of the Medicare costs in 2023. And of course, some of you may already know that the monthly premium has been changed. It actually was reduced from $170.10 to $164.90, so that is a good sign. And the Part A and Part B costs, additional Part B costs have also changed. So the Part A premium for those, of course, that have a premium has gone up slightly. If someone has less than 40 quarters, but more than 30 quarters, so anywhere from 30 to 39 quarters, the cost is $278 a month. Or if someone has less than 30 quarters, they're paying $506 a month. The hospital deductible has increased to $1,600 for a benefit period, which is anytime someone is admitted into the hospital, and then if they're out of the hospital for a 60-day period and go back in, they could be subjected to another hospital deductible. If someone's in the hospital over 60 days, there is a per day rate, and that rate is $400 up to days from 61 to 90, and $800 from days 91 to 150. And keep in mind that the last 60-day period is a non-renewable lifetime reserve, where those days, once you use those days, you no longer have those days available. The skilled nursing coinsurance is $200 for days 21 through 100, and that is per day. After day 100, it's no longer medical, it's considered long-term care. Our Part B and Part D costs, where the Part B annual deductible has decreased, and it is $226. And then we mentioned the Part B monthly premium. For Part D, as in David, the base premium is $32.74, and that's what's used to determine if anyone has a late enrollment penalty. It is 1% per month of this premium. The maximum deductible for Part D is $505. And then there's an initial coverage limit of a little over $4,600. The donut hole or the coverage gap, individuals pay no more than 25% of generic or brand name prescriptions. And the catastrophic coverage, once someone pays $7,400, then they reach that catastrophic coverage where their prescription costs are 5%. Starting next year, there will be no cost during the catastrophic period. Thank you all. This ends our Medicare topic, and now we're going to move to Veronica for our SMP presentation.
Good morning, everyone. I'm I am from South Texas, close to the border, and I used to be a benefits counselor for about 20 years. So I know the hard work that you, Felicia, and put in to this. I mean, hats off. It's not an easy job. It's very complex. And I have to give you kudos for all your hard work. Did it for 20 years. I understand what you go through on the daily, and you try to solve everybody's problems, try to make things right, but it's so difficult at times because you hit a lot of walls at times. But I commend you on all your hard work.
Thank you, Veronica.
Next slide, please. Okay, we are the Senior Medicare Patrol, and these here are our wonderful team from Houston. We have Jennifer Salazar is our Executive Director. We have Diane Nguyen, who is our Program Director. Angel Hanzik, she does what I do. She's State Outreach Specialist. Dorian Dotson is our State Volunteer Coordinator. And we have Lily Hsu as our Senior Program Coordinator. The Texas Senior Medicare Patrol also has a hotline, 1-888-341-6187, and this is where you would call to file complaints or report some sort of fraud or abuse that may be occurring in your area or maybe you have witnessed. Next slide, please. What is Senior Medicare Patrol? We are a federally funded program, and there's one in every state. And what we do is we train and recruit people to become volunteers and help in the fight against Medicare fraud and abuse. Medicare fraud is crazy. You're talking about $63 billion a year that is lost to fraudulent claims or erroneous claims. And our job is to try to curtail that fraud by training beneficiaries on how to prevent, detect, and report these type of frauds, abuse, or erroneous claims. Next slide, please. So what happens if you are pretty much seeing what's going on, scammers usually keep an eye on news and current events. A prime example of what they do is, I don't know if you guys remember back in the day when Obama gave out these stimulus payments, everybody was getting a stimulus check. So a lot of people were experiencing their stimulus monies were being stolen, or somehow they were receiving notifications that they had to do an application in order to get this money. People were filling out these applications, not knowing that these people, these scammers, were going to go into their accounts and take their stimulus checks. Same thing happens around tax time. These scammers know time frames and what things are going on at particular times, and they capitalize on this knowledge and they try to scam people out of their hard-earned money. And people just aren't really knowing what to do to get that money back. And in all reality, it's very difficult to kind of recoup lost monies. And next slide, please. And these are the different types of scams that are out there right now. There's many more, but these are the primary ones. One is called the phishing, and it's not what you do on the weekends with your fishing rod and reels and things like that. What this is that they send out random emails, text messages, hoping that you will click on those, and that will give them access to a lot of your personal information and also give them an opportunity to go into your bank accounts. We currently, I know that a lot of us, I know I'm guilty of it, have all my banking information on my phone. We have our bank apps, we have our cash apps, we have Apple Pay. All they need is for you to press on one of these text messages or access an email or respond to an email for them to gain access to all your personal information, banking information, so they can take your hard-earned money. We also have issues with online purchases. How many of you go into Facebook and you see a lot of pop-ups on certain items that you can purchase through Facebook? And a lot of the times you pay for these items and never receive the item you purchased. So just be very wary of what's going on Facebook. Try to purchase items off the actual website, not through a third party. And that would kind of maybe prevent you from clicking on something that's not real. Another one is sweepstakes, lotteries, and prizes. We have people getting notifications, oh, you just won $1 million, but I need you to send me $5,000 to collect your $1 million type of thing. Or you get letters saying, oh, you just won a car, but we need you to pay the tax, title, and license. You know, keep in mind, if you didn't enter a sweepstakes or a lottery, or you didn't register for a raffle, and you're getting these notices, chances are it's a scam. You can't win something that you didn't enter. You know, just keep that in mind. We have people calling from government agencies claiming to be from the IRS, Medicare, you know, Health and Human Services, posing as an agent, trying to get you to send money or that you owe money. IRS people calling you saying, oh, you owe us $5,000. If you don't pay right away, we will issue an arrest for a warrant for your arrest and go arrest you at work, yada, yada, yada. And they panic you. And a lot of the people fall for this and end up sending them the money they're requesting. Be wary. I mean, all you have to do is call the agents or the agency that's claiming that you owe money just to verify that this is true. Next thing is tech support. This almost happened to me. And what they do is with my issue, I was having a problem with a printer I had just purchased. I was trying to link it to my laptop and it was a wireless printer. So I was having a hard time doing it. So this thing popped up and I clicked on it when I shouldn't have. And this person randomly comes on and starts asking me to click here, click there to gain access to my computer so that they can help me connect that printer. I kind of like started getting a feeling like, oh, this is not right. He's going to get access to my personal laptop. I have a lot of stuff on there, personal stuff that they're going to have access to. So I hung up. I just closed the window, just totally disconnected from that conversation. And they had my number because they had asked for my phone number initially, and they were calling me nonstop to get me back online. So this is the type of thing we need to keep watch over, especially with these new computers, and we seek help, and it's could be a scammer on you. I'm not saying that all of them are bad, but you need to be very careful with who is sending you these links. There's issues about government grants as well, debt collection. You get calls from people saying, oh, you owe the light company $400. You need to pay now or we're going to disconnect your light. Again, verify with the company that is saying that you owe them money, just to make sure, you know, that it's true. And most of the time it isn't. It's a scam. Employment, work from home. I had a lady call me a few days ago saying that she had gotten a job working from home and the employer had sent her a check for $2,000 to purchase equipment that she will need to be able to work from home. She was wary about having to deposit that check into her account, and I told her that she very well should be, because it's not customary for them to send you money to purchase equipment. Usually the company will send you the equipment you need to start working for them. And most times what happens is you deposit the check doesn't clear, and next thing you know, the bank is calling you, telling you that you need to pay them the amount of the check plus NSF fees. So be very careful with this type of thing as well. Identity theft. This is a big one. It always has been. It happened to one of my family members, and it haunts you for years. It's very difficult to get this corrected. My friend has to, every year around tax time, has to go through the painful process of going through the IRS to prove who he is, because this person that stole his identity is working in another state and earning wages over there. So when tax time rolls around, they're having wages from Texas and this other state, and they're saying, well, wait a minute, you're not reporting these wages, so we need you to come in and do this and this and that. It's a pain, and this has been going on for years. I want to say over 10 years, and he's never been able to get it corrected. Fake checks and money orders. That's another doozy. You get checks in the mail, you know, all of a sudden you have a check for $1,000 and you don't know where it came from, and you're going to deposit. You be very, very careful in doing so, because that can also cost you NSF fees and having to pay that check back to whoever you deposited with. Next. So right now we're going to discuss the top 10 scams of 2022. Scammers have a way of getting to you, and one of the best ways to do so is online through social media, especially Facebook, emails, advertisements. Just got a call from someone else last week saying that she had seen a commercial and she had called a number and they were offering her a back brace for $19.99. Well, guess what? She called, she ordered and paid the back brace, but never got the back brace. This was months ago. So this is just some things that you need to be careful in ordering or clicking on or falling for. If you need DME equipment, back braces, any sort of thing that falls under durable medical equipment, always consult your physician. Medicare would pay 80%, you pay the other 20, or your secondary insurance picks off the cost, but always follow up with your physician. Do not take it upon yourself falling for these advertisements or these emails offering you low cost DME. And in turn, they're going to end up with your Medicare information, your bank information, your social security numbers, and that's just going to open a whole big old can of worms for you. You also get phone calls. We get phone calls on a daily. I know I get them all the time. Calls, text messages about your Amazon accounts. I know my ex-boss just got taken for $500. Someone called her, told her that they were accessing her Amazon, making purchases that were unauthorized. So they instructed her to go purchase these cards, gift cards, and for her to pull her money out and put them in these gift cards, and she fell for it. She pulled out $2,000 she had in the bank, put them all into gift cards, and the person on the other end of the phone asked her to give them those numbers that are in the back of the card. So she went as far as giving them one card number, and she stopped dead in her tracks and kind of had a moment of, wait a minute, why am I giving these people the number on my card? This is my money. But by that time it was too late, and they made off with $500 of her money. That it was a scam. There was no one ever there trying to take her money. And the mistake she made is that she did not call Amazon directly. She clicked on the link, she spoke to these people, and they were just scammers. So best practice to do is, if someone's calling you about Amazon or any other company that you may do business with, call them directly to the number that you know that you usually call to do business with these people. Next slide, please. So, like I said, the recommended actions: don't pick up phone calls from anyone you don't know. I don't know, I might be dating myself, but I recall hitchhiking. And I use this example for people to remember when we were always told never pick up a hitchhiker. You don't know who you're picking up on the side of the road. It's got their thumb out needing a ride. Be careful, don't pick them up. Same thing goes with the phone. You don't know who's calling you on that phone. You don't recognize the number. The minute you answer that call, you're picking up a hitchhiker. You don't know who's on the other end of that call. Don't answer text messages from strangers, people you don't know. Don't download or any sort of links or emails. Don't let anybody know, or don't let anyone you don't know come into your home or approach you in the streets. Next slide. Investment scams. This one's a biggie. So what scammers will do, especially if they know you have access to a great amount of money, they'll approach you and say, hey, you know, I got a deal of a lifetime and you need to act now. Or, you know, time is running down. We need you to act immediately, blah, blah, blah. We are promising a great return on this. It's a deal of a lifetime. Really, you need to be careful. Next slide, please. So what we recommend you do, if someone approaches you trying to make you invest in something that's kind of questionable, just slow down, take time to really listen to what they're saying, research, find out what it is. Always have a script, like, for example, if something approaches you, say, hey, I need you to invest in this. I need $50,000 right away, or else your window of opportunity is leaving. Just tell you know what, I need to run this by my daughter. She works at a bank and she's very familiar with these type of investments. Let me speak with her first. Give me your name and number and I'll get back to you. So if you, next slide, please. I'm sorry. So if you ever run into a problem with this type of investment, there is an agency you can call or file a complaint when. It's called the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, which is FIRNA.org. So what they do is that they will take your complaint and investigate and find out whether or not these individuals are credible or scammers. And you would help other people avoid getting scammed in the event that this is a scam and people are trying to take your money. Next slide, please. Sweepstakes is another doozy. How many of you heard about Publishers Clearinghouse? How many have known of anyone who's actually won Publishers Clearinghouse? No one. So these are a big one. Our elderly are usually the ones that really fall for this. They get calls saying, oh, you just won a brand new house, or, you get a letter, you go on social media, and they're asking you to pay taxes, courier, insurance, tax, title, and license. I mean, I've heard of people that have lost all their savings due to these type of scams because they answered the scams, and next thing you know is they're getting a call, say, okay, we're going to send you your prize, but I need you to send $200 today because that's the shipping cost. And then they'll call again. Well, there's another cost we've incurred, so we need another $100 by tomorrow so you can receive. And it goes on and on and on. And before you notice you've already paid off thousands of dollars for something that you're never even going to receive. Next slide, please. So you recommend that you ignore random emails, texts, phone calls saying that you won a prize out of the blue. You haven't registered or entered any sort of giveaway. Chances are it's a scam. Don't click on any pop-ups, download any attachments. Don't do that, because the minute you do that, you're giving people access to all your personal information. Remember, you can't win if you didn't enter. Just remember that. Don't let them convince you otherwise. Next slide, please. Money transfers. This one's a biggie. We all deal with Zelle. We all have Cash App, Apple Pay, Google Pay. So what's going on right now, and I just found out about this particular scam with Zelle. It's called a reverse Zelle. And what's going on is you'll get a text message from your bank, or at least someone posing to be from your bank. And they'll say, hey, did you make or try to make a purchase of $2,000 at this merchant today? So you're thinking no. So people know not to click on these text messages. So they'll call their bank. Let's say they're calling Bank of America. And you call Bank of America and Bank of America tells you, wait, there's like a 30-minute wait. Leave a message, we'll call you back. So you don't have to sit and wait for 30 minutes for us to answer your questions. So you hang up and the scammer knows that more than likely you're going to ask to be called back. So you're waiting for Bank of America to call you back. Bank of America, surely enough, calls back. You're waiting for the call, but it's not Bank of America. it's the scammer. They're able to disguise their phone numbers and caller IDs for them to read Bank of America. Now, the other person on the other side sounds very helpful, and they're asking you questions about your account and what's going on. And then they go on to say, oh, well, there's another transaction here for $200 at Walmart. Did you do that? Oh, no. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to ask you to do a reverse Zelle transaction. So they start sending you certain links to click on. And once you click on those links, you're giving them access to all your banking information. So next thing you know, the money that was in question has been pulled from your account, not knowing that you gave them access. And the problem with this is that a lot of the banks refuse to give your money back. They will not dispute these type of issues because you knowingly gave them access. You sent them the money. So it's a bit difficult, but there is a Electronic Funds Transfer Act that regulates these banks, and it does allow banks to refund consumers, but these banks, for some reason, are interpreting the law a little differently. So what we recommend you do in case that you are a victim of this is to file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau or with the Texas Attorney General, and also save paperwork, texts, and notes that you got during this type of scam that was going on. So you have proof that you can present to the banking institutions to try to get your money back. Banks are currently trying to put together a protection that would allow the consumer to get their money back, but it's still in the works. So just be very careful when calling your bank. Do not put yourself in queue to get called back. Just stay on the line, even if it's 30 minutes, because once you hang up, that's giving the scammer an opportunity to come through there. And you're assuming it's the bank calling you. So just stay on the line. You know, as painful as it is to wait 20 to 30 minutes, at least you know you're talking to an actual bank representative and not a scammer. Be wary of businesses that only accept those gift cards or PayPal, Cash App, someone that doesn't want to accept a credit card, you know, because you have certain protections with a credit card. So a lot of these scammers, it's easier for them to get away if they use these types of forms of payment, Cash App, Venmo, you know, Zelle. Never send or accept payments from anyone you do not know. If you're not familiar with them, do not send money or accept money. They can send you money and scam you that way as well. Be very careful. I constantly get messages from people that I have friended on Facebook asking me for my Cash App. Why? They ask me, what's your Cash App? Why? Because they want to go in there and scam me in one way or another. So just be very careful. Call them, ask them, why do you need my Cash App? You know, don't just send that information freely. Always make sure you have strong passwords. This is very important. Do not write them down. I know a lot of people do that, and I can be just as guilty of it at times. Try not to write them down, because if you lose that information, anyone will be able to access every single thing. And it could be very, very painful to try to correct and gain back all that money that you may have lost. Keep your transactions private, please. Do not post anything, you know, I just purchased a new vehicle, or I just got this, I just got that. People, scammers, especially scammers, will get a hold of that information and use it against you in one way or another. Just be very careful. If you have apps, bank apps, make sure that you always check those, just to make sure that your monies are in there, or that there has been nothing missing or unauthorized purchases that you were not aware of. Make sure you check those on the daily. Next slide, please. Car warranties. How many of us get these calls on the daily, constantly? phones going off, and it's about car warranties. These are just scammers trying to get your information. They're trying to steal your personal information so they can use it for other purposes. Callers would claim to be from a car manufacturer and saying, okay, you just bought a vehicle last year, your warranty's ending soon. We need you to purchase a warranty to keep you protected against any malfunctions or unexpected vehicle repairs. It's a scam. It's a scam. There are some that are good, but questionable as well. I know I've had people tell me that they've purchased some of these warranties, and when they came to need it for repairs, it didn't cover much. So just be very careful with these car warranty offers. Next slide, please. So what you do is, as always, never give away your personal information, including your driver's license. Don't answer phone calls from random numbers. I know that for those of you that have Apple phones, and I learned this from a family member, that you're able to block unknown callers. Like, you have your list of people on your contacts list. So what Apple will do is just recognize the numbers that you have saved on your contacts. So if anyone calls that's not registered on your contacts list, your phone will never ring. It won't ring. So I think that's something that is very useful to protect yourself from these type of phone calls that you don't know who's calling you and trying to scam you. So I personally don't know how to do it. I would have to go to an Apple store or maybe a phone place to have them teach me how to do this. I was trying to go through the settings, but I couldn't find a way to do that. But if you guys are interested in doing this, just go to your local cell phone provider network. They will be able to help you do this with your Apple phone. That's just an added protection for you. Tech support. Don't click on anything that pops up in your computer. Norton, especially Norton or Apple, this could cause problems. There's something called ransomware, where people actually take your computer for ransom, and they're asking you to pay a certain amount of money for you to be able to use your computer again. This is crazy. So just be careful on these pop-ups. You're on the computer, they randomly pop up, and you're reading there and it looks good, but it may be something that you might be interested, but never, ever, ever click on these. These are very dangerous. Never do business with tech support contacts that you over the phone or internet. Change your email and social media passwords once you have that problem. Choose passwords that are easy for you to remember, but harder for others to crack. Just keep that in mind. The more difficult your password is, the more difficult it is for scammers to access your information. Gifts exchange. Social media scams are a big one. We're always on Facebook, on Instagram, and we see things like gifts exchanged, phishing emails. We have fake accounts. You're always trying to get friended. People are trying to friend you, people you don't know, but they're usually just fake accounts. We have celebrity lies where people come on saying that they're a certain celebrity and then end up asking you for money for a certain cause. You have fake shopping ads where they're selling a certain item, you register, order the item, you never get the item, but they take your money. Fake links as well. They're everywhere. You click on these and you're clicking on something that might end up harming you in the long run by them accessing your information. Modern technology is such a blessing, but it's also been a curse to many of us that get scammed due to this. This is just an example of the secret sister scam that's going on through Facebook. And I've seen it. It's come across my timeline and I've seen this. And it's basically is a pyramid scam. They're promising a return. You purchase a certain amount of gifts and then you're going to get like 30 other gifts in the amount of $10. I mean, it's a scam. It's a pyramid scam. Next slide. You also can get messages from Facebook saying, oh, there's been an issue with account. Somebody's been trying to scan or access your account from another computer, blah, blah, blah. Don't click on those. Just try to verify straight to your Facebook. Don't click on anything. Next slide. Watch out for scammers pretending to be on Facebook. They're everywhere, especially when it comes to the romance scams. You get these guys trying to friend these lonely ladies and they fall for it. Next thing you know, they're being scammed with tons and tons of money. I mean, it's crazy and it's very hard to recoup those monies. Check your login history. Don't click on any suspicious links. Don't give away money or information to anyone you do not know. Very important. Next is COVID-19. When COVID started, there was tons of scams going on with the testing. People were charging hundreds of dollars to be tested. They were charging money to get vaccine cards. And they were getting calls from Medicare regarding COVID packages. Medicare never calls you. Just remember that Medicare will never call unless you ask them to call you back regarding a certain issue. But this was going on, and to some extent, it's still going on with these COVID-19. Next slide, please. So recommended action is always, like I've mentioned before, call your doctor for treatment. Do not fall for anything you see on social media, any text messages, emails. Always check with your doctor first. Never post your vaccine card online. When I remember when we first started with the vaccinations, I was seeing people posting their vaccine cards online, on Facebook. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is just going to open a whole new round of scammers. I mean, people can get that from you and say that they were vaccinated and use it. No, just don't do that. And remember, if anyone calls you and says, hey, we have a miracle cure for COVID-19, it'll cost you $29.99, send it to us now and we'll send you the medication, yada, yada, yada. It's a scam. There is no miracle cure. Identity theft. All scammers are trying to get from you is your social security numbers so they can scam you. Use this to ultimately steal money, your tax refunds. Your personal information includes social security numbers, birthdays, banking information, Medicare numbers. All this can be used to open up fake accounts, purchase vehicles, purchase homes. You would be surprised at the type of things that they can do with all this information. Next slide, please. So a great way to monitor this is to get your credit report. We all are entitled to one free credit report.
Lynn didn't worry about
Go ahead. You can go ahead and
identity theft. She always said, who'd want to steal my identity? Lynn never had a credit card or borrowed money. She figured thieves wouldn't mess with someone who had no credit history. One day, Lynn decided to apply for a credit card. She sent in her application, but the company turned her down. Lynn wanted to know what happened. Why didn't she get the credit card? She got a free copy of her credit report to find out. There, Lynn discovered that someone had opened 8 credit cards in her name. They even got a car loan. And whoever used her name wasn't paying any of the bills. The credit report said all the accounts were overdue. Lynn tried to fix these mistakes, but she found out that it's not easy to prove that you did not do something. Those businesses held Lynn responsible for the bills, at least until she proved that the bills belonged to an identity thief. It took a long time, but she fixed the problem. Now Lynn checks her credit report every year to look for signs of identity theft.
Yes, and this is the best practice is to check your credit report. Never give out your social security number. I know in the past, social security numbers were used for practically everything. Medicare came in and changed the social security numbers that were on the Medicare cards and gave them random numbers and letters for that same reason, because the elderly were being scammed into identity theft because Medicare cards had their social security numbers on there. Collect your mail every day. There is something called check washing. So if you're one that practices mailing checks to pay your light bill or gas or whatever, credit card bills, be very wary of what is going on. There are mailmen that are being robbed at gunpoint for these keys that they call arrow keys. So these arrow keys are able to open numerous mailboxes. And these people are stealing mail from these mailboxes, looking for checks. And what they do is they wash the check. I don't know if you recall that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, Catch Me If You Can, where he was washing all the checks and then he would fill it in with his personal information and change the amount on the checks. And that's what's going on right now. So be very careful if you are mailing checks still to pay your bills. Monitor your credit, like we mentioned before, do your yearly credit report. And again, be very complex with your passwords. Next slide, please. Emergency scams. This is the #1 scam right now. And this ties in with the romance scam, the grandparent scam. And what this is that the elderly person will get a call from a family member, says, oh, grandma, I'm in Mexico. I just got arrested. I need $5,000 for them to release me. Please don't tell mom and dad. Just send the money quick. Be surprised that a lot of people fall for this. Best practice, you get calls from the IRS that you're going to be arrested because you haven't paid a past due account with them, that you owe $10,000, or you're being called and saying you need to send money. You skipped a jury duty. We're going to go arrest you, send money or else type of thing. Romance scams. So you get people falling in love over the internet. The person is asking for money. Money's being sent. Yada, yada, yada. Big problem. So don't send money to strangers. Like I mentioned before, never send money to strangers. Always verify another loved one. So if somebody's calling you saying, oh, don't call mom and dad, call them just to find out if they're okay. If they tell you, no, he's not here, he went to Mexico, then you know he is in Mexico. But just be careful, don't fall for it. I know my mom got a call once saying that one of my relatives was in Mexico being held, needed $2,000 to be released. Thank goodness she called me and I was able to verify that that was a scam. IRS never is going to call you or threaten you. If they need to contact you for any reason, remember they will do it in the form of a letter, and it usually registered letter, and just basically just hang up. You know, there's no rule or law that says you can't hang up. So that would be the best practice on these type of cases. Next slide, please. So just keep in mind that scams is really theft with a smile. You know, people are going to be nice to you. They're going to convince you that this is the way to go. Give me all your information. I promise I'm going to help you, type of thing. So just remember, they're smiling. You know, that it's a scam is theft with a smile. Just keep that in mind. And remember to call Senior Medicare Patrol for any help with any of these scams. Thank you.
Great information. I can tell you all that my mother was also scammed with the Amazon scam that you talked about. And she stayed on the line. She went to the bank, withdrew the money. She went and bought the gift card. She gave them all the numbers, and they got $3,000 out of her.
Oh, no.
They locked up her computer. She could never get in her computer again because they got access to her computer, and there was no way to get back in the computer because they took control of it and locked it down. And because my mom went to the bank and the people at the bank are saying, are you okay? And she said, yes, she took the money out of the bank. There was no way the bank was going to give her the money back because she went to the bank out of the bank. She fell for the entire thing, and they just absolutely got her at every level. It is
That is horrible.
And I said, why didn't you hang up? She says, they wouldn't let me off the phone. Just hang up. Don't
Right,
ask them
right.
you don't need to ask them permission. Hit the red
Right.
button. Hit
They're
the red
master
button.
manipulators. Let me tell
Yeah.
you.
They are.
My boss, my friend was able to get her money back, and let me tell you how. And this is something they typically don't do. She went to a big chain shopping mall, whatever, and she was able to convince them to let her purchase an iPad. Because remember, she had $2,000 in gift cards. So they let her purchase the iPad with the gift cards. And she was allowed to return the iPad the next day and get her money back so she can go back to the bank and deposit it.
Wow.
But they don't do that all the time, though.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I
That's-
actually had someone call me recently, and their in-laws were defrauded out of $50,000 in a 6-month period.
Like,
And so now that son-in-law is assisting them, going forward because they're not able to continually maintain their finances. So he's helping them, and he is someone who is going to be volunteering to help us as well. So so we never know.
In my mom's case, my mom did not have the money. They took the remaining burial and grave marker money is what they got it that was left from a GoFundMe page to help finish off the burial. And so I ended up paying for the grave marker. Me and my wife did because she was out the money. It's just believe me, everybody out there, it is out there. It's crazy. And people say, well, it won't happen to me. And it does, let me tell you. So I want to go through real quick before we get to Q&A. I want to go through the CEU information. I'm so sorry. So those of you that are joining us today for CEUs, we're set up with the state of Texas to provide CEUs for social workers and licensed professional counselors in the state of Texas. If you're outside the state of Texas or you have a different license in the state of Texas, you're more than welcome to go through the process, get a certificate, submit it to the jurisdiction. I've had people tell me they've gotten them taken, but just know there's no guarantee. We're only set up for the 2 licenses in the state of Texas. Today's webinar is worth an hour and a half worth of CEU credits. You must have attended the entire live webinar or this afternoon's recording with the live Q&A in order to qualify. You must complete the Google evaluation survey. It should pop up as you close out of Zoom this morning. If you do not get it, I know companies have pop-up blockers and that type of thing. The survey the link will also be emailed to you in a follow-up email either this afternoon or early tomorrow morning. The survey link will be good for 1 week, and please give me about 3 weeks after that deadline to get you your CEU certificates. Okay, so I'm gonna, if we can advance the slide, we're gonna leave the slide here if we can to talk about next month's topic. Please mark your calendars for February 13th for making enrollment decisions and looking for love, the romance scams. And now, if you guys, I'm going to turn it back over to the audience for any Q&A.
All right, thank you, Marty. And there were a couple. There were some comments in the chat, and then there were also Q&A questions. Does QMB cover the Part A and B cost for those who have less than 40 quarters? That question is, it depends. It can cover the Part A and Part B cost if someone has less than 40 quarters. We would have to talk to the individuals on a case-by-case basis because it depends on if they are U.S. citizens, if they are residents of a certain state. So that really depends. But if someone qualifies, QMB can cover the Part A and Part B costs. Another question, what should a senior have to do when he or she will no longer have Medicare Part B because of the increase they will receive this 2023? We get this every year because the increase happens And then the Medicare savings program limits do not change until March or April. And so what we do is we reapply, help that individual reapply for the Medicare savings programs. Sometimes it does push them into the next level, but most of the time the income limits do increase where they're still eligible for that program. I hope that answers your question on that. There were a couple comments which I posted from the chat about how to stop the calls, silence unknown callers on iPhone, and it's possible on Samsung. And then Carrie provided us with her favorite social media scams, the National Sunday, National Daughter Day, and then you play games where they ask you questions. Guess what? They're asking you about your family. And so therefore, they're going to have that information. So be very careful about those pop-ups that come up on social media. Machanta said people sell vaccination cards. Yes, they do. So it's important to be very wary if you do get a call or information that's saying, hey, we have a vaccination card for you.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure, Veronica, was your contact information on that slide that you had all the different people listed?
It was on the one before.
Yeah, the one before.
Yes.
If you want to put your contact information in the chat for everyone, that would be great.
That would be great. There's somebody asking for it. I have a question for you, Veronica, too, and I'm kind of asking you to do two things at once here. Sorry, but where should people keep? You asked not to write down their passwords, because I was sitting with my mother as we're setting up the new computer. We had to buy her a new computer. I was sitting with her to set it up, and she's got to write it down. I mean, she's got to write it down someplace. I mean, she'll never remember it. And so I think it's really important to say, wherever you do write that down, you handle that, you keep that just like you would keep your Social Security card, where no one would ever get access to it, because I think asking them not to write it down is a little bit unrealistic.
Right.
Then they won't have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have thought of that till I actually had to sit down with her and do that. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, the iPhone has like a bank where it stores all your passwords. Yeah. Whenever you open up an app and you're registering for the app and you need a password for mostly everything, these little notification will pop up when you're filling out that information, and it'll ask, do you want us to save this password? And you click yes, and you have a list of passwords already saved for that particular or different apps. You can do that, but not everybody has an iPhone. So yes, of course, I was guilty of it before I got my iPhone. I was writing everything down, and I have it stored away at home where nobody else knows where it is except myself. I mean, if you're able to keep it safe from anyone else finding it, don't carry it in your purse, in your wallet, because if you lose your purse or your wallet, voila, everybody's going to have access to everything and all your personal, your banking information, everything. That's why it's so dangerous. That's why we always suggest people not carry those Social Security cards. Don't carry your Medicare card for the same reason. You never know when you're going to misplace your purse, your wallet. People are going to have access to all of that information. So if you're going to write it down, just make sure you don't carry it with you. Keep it somewhere safe, not with you.
Right. Right. And if someone is technology savvy, there are apps available also. And thank you, Carrie, for pointing that out, that you can use.
One of the things I want to add to that, if I could, one of the things that we were told, and you might know differently, Veronica, is when they got access to her computer and they took control of her computer, that they got access to all of those passwords that were saved on her computer. Not that she typed in, but that she hit, because your Google will allow you to say, save your password.
Right.
And
Yes.
they can actually go into your Google and get all of your passwords. To
Everything.
And so we were told not to have them, when it says, would you like us to save your password? We were told to say no every time,
Right.
because if they ever got access to her computer, they would have all of that. And so I don't know, it's so tough, you guys.
It
Trying to
is.
stay ahead of these people, it's just a nightmare.
Were you
Mhm.
able to report this to the Internet Crime Compliance Center, the IC3.gov?
You know, I don't know. She's in California. I know my sisters handled most of it. I had to handle the computer stuff. My sisters aren't very technology literate, and so I had to buy her a computer and help her set it up.
Oh,
I know the sheriff was very involved. I mean, came out and visited with her and stuff. But you know, just so you all know, the police departments and that kind of thing are so bogged down with major crime. This little stuff doesn't really hit their radar. It's not a felony. I think it's $25,000 now before.
something like that.
I'm sorry?
That's about it, 25,000, yeah,
Before it becomes a felony.
before it becomes a
Mhm.
felony.
They always say crime doesn't pay, but if it's under $25,000, it paid. I mean, that's a lot of money, you know?
Yeah, if I were
Right.
you, I recommend that you go into the IC3I as in ICE, C as in cat, number 3.gov. And this is the Internet Crime Complaint Center. And basically what they're law enforcement officers that specialize in cyber crimes. So I would go in there, let them know what happened so they can turn around and investigate. I mean, they might not be able to get her money back,
Yeah.
but at least there's a flag on these individuals. So that prevents other people from falling into that scam.
You know, one of the things that happened, I mean, one of the things in her case is it was over the phone. It wasn't, but then she gave him access to her computer because
Exactly.
they put it on the computer.
So that's already a cyber scam because they
Okay, that's good.
accessed her computer.
That's great. That's very
Yeah,
good.
and
I'll definitely check into that.
One of the attendees said they're dealing with that now and have been for the last couple of months. So I did
Oh.
post that website
Thank
in the
you.
chat. There was another question for Veronica. Is there anyone we can contact about all the government agency imposters?
You can call the Senior Medicare Patrol and we can help you kind of distinguish who's legit and who's not. But just keep in mind, government agencies, whether it's Medicare, Social Security, Health and Human Services, will not call you unless you've called them first. If you contacted the IRS because you're having tax issues and you ask them to call you back, they'll call you back. Medicare, same thing. You're having Medicare issues. You call 1-800-Medicare and you ask them to call you back, they'll call you back. Social Security will call you back with certain issues, but it's only after you've spoken to an agent and you've identified and confirmed who you are, your identity, because remember, Social Security will not speak to anyone other than whoever Social Security number you're calling in reference to, unless you're a representative payee or someone who's authorized to speak on your behalf. But you can contact us at the Senior Medicare Patrol and we can help you more or less distinguish whether or not someone's trying to scam you.
The other thing I was going to play, I'm sorry. The other thing I was going
Go ahead.
my mother was scammed just about 5 months after my dad passed away. And so just so you know, if you have a living relative that lost their spouse, you want to be extra vigilant with them, because I think these people are really looking at those vulnerabilities and targeting them for these types of things because they know they're vulnerable. Not only that, but when they're dealing with all that business stuff that goes on when someone passes away, they're already overwhelmed, and I think they're extra vulnerable for this. Please watch out for those people.
Yes, that is very important.
The survey should pop up as you close out today from Zoom, the survey should pop up. If it doesn't pop up, it will be, you'll receive the link also in a follow-up email from me either this afternoon or tomorrow.
Okay, there was one other question also in the chat. How much is the total out of pocket for Advantage plans? And that varies by plan. If you do a comparison on Medicare.gov, it will show the maximum out of pocket for each Advantage plan. You can also look in the back of the Medicare and You handbook. It's listed back there for all the different plans as well, but that's not specific to the one that would work best for a particular individual. So it's best to do a comparison, and you can find out the out-of-pocket costs on Medicare.gov. I think that's all the questions that I've seen in the chat.
Did you get the last? There was a third one posted in the Q&A. I don't know if you've already answered that or not. I may have missed it.
Oh, okay. Nope, I did not. Why is Part A free and other parts are not? Well, if someone has work history, then all those tax dollars that they're paying in is what pays for Part A. So that's why it is a requirement to have those 40 quarters, because then that amount is what pays for Part A to allow you to have premium-free Part A when you're eligible for Medicare. Part B, that monthly premium is about 25% of the full cost. So you've also paid into some of that as well. We complain about all those taxes when we're paying it, when we're working, and don't understand how that, may not understand how that relates to Medicare and Social Security and all of that. But it does play a big part in what you pay once you're eligible for Medicare.
All of that comes out of your paycheck automatically.
Automatically.
In the form of Medicare and Social Security taxes that your
Right.
employers withhold, and then they end up having to match that, usually dollar for dollar. So that's what pays that for you all.
Right, right. And it's good, you know, even if someone is self-employed and they're actually completing taxes, that's how you're paying it, through those taxes or through your quarterly taxes that you pay. So it does play a part.
I have a real quick question. I know we're way over time, but is your Social Security the amount you get based on your income, or does everybody that puts in 40 quarters end up with getting the same?
No, it is based on your work history. They look at your 35 highest years, and then it's calculated based on that.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Very good. Melinda, Felicia, Veronica, thank you all so very much. Incredibly good information.
You're welcome.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you all for joining us. If you have anybody that's interested in this, please help share the information. We'll be back on it at 3 o'clock today with the same presentation. For anybody else, have them register, and we'd love to have them on as well. Thank you all so much, and you all have a wonderful day.